All right, good evening, everyone. I'll call together the Arts, Parks, Libraries, and Entertainment Committee. We'll call to order on this Tuesday evening, December 17th at 5 p.m. We'll go through and call roll. And does anyone have any pen that I could borrow?
Let me see.
Thank you.
Oh, there you go.
Thank you.
He tried to kill me.
Councilmember Eastlick. Look at that. He's
That was and he missed, and I'm
Chair
right
Gadd,
here.
present. Chair Bradford.
Here.
Everybody's chair tonight. Cap, present. Eastlick, he's definitely here. Ewing,
Yep, I'm still here.
Hancock, Lee.
What's up, Bo?
Stiles, Taylor, Vice Chair Bo.
Here.
Welsh.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Was there anyone signed up for public comment? I apologize, Hannah, for not. I didn't see.
No.
Okay, wonderful. Or not wonderful, but anyways, no one signed up for public comment, so we will move on to our agenda. We have 2 items, and then we're going to spend the remainder of time of listening to our guest this evening. But here we'll go into the resolutions. I'll read them separately. Item number 1, RS 2024-937, Porterfield Gadd Welsh, accepts an in-kind grant from the Centennial Park Conservancy to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Metro Board of Parks and Recreation to fund improvements at the Parthenon. Is there a motion?
Move. Second.
Okay, wonderful. It's been moved in second. Is there any discussion, or is anyone here that would like to share more information on this resolution?
Just to state it, nothing to add.
Okay, wonderful. And
How much can you improve on the Parthenon?
True. Well, a little bit.
That's
sorry, I was going to say a little bit more here. But with this, is this also, I know that the Parthenon is going to have an additional exhibit coming up that's going to be from Alan LaQuire is going to be honoring some other great Nashvillians. That's going to be kind of similar to the size of the Athena that's in there. I don't know if this goes to that improvements, or is this directly?
No, it's specific to those items they have
that are
listed
present
in the donation letter.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. And for the record, your name and title?
Shanita White, Assistant Director of Finance and Administration.
Shanita, thank you so very much for being here. Sounds like any other questions? If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any against or present not voting, please let us know. So it passes. Item number 2 on the agenda is RS 2024-945, Parker Gadd Welsh, designates the U.S. bicycle route 80 through Nashville. The Nashville Department of Transportation has partnered with the Tennessee Department of Transportation, Bike Walk Tennessee, and the Adventure Cycling Association to designate a bicycle route in Davidson County using existing roads and highways. Is there a motion?
Motion. So moved.
Okay, moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or questions on this? Dr. Still? I did have a question that was lifted up. I know I'll move this forward since Councilman Parker isn't able to be present with us right now. I have a question that was lifted up in email, just wanting to know about the background of some of the organizations that had come forward. And so hoping to gather that info. If anyone's here to have that, I don't know if you have any more on that, Hannah.
I don't know that I have any background info, but I can get some for you. Let me pop out in the hallway real quick and see if there's anybody standing there.
Sorry to delay us, folks, but it did have just an email to me. I think Councilman Parker and the other sponsors on this were maybe on that email. Someone was asking from one of the local biking organizations. We'll give her a moment.
So what is the actual route? Do we know what road has been dedicated? What is 80?
Yeah, it's in the attachment with the route described.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Purvis.
Howdy.
Thank you so much. Will you please say your name for the record, and we're going to ask you a question.
Yep. Matt Purvis, I'm the Council Liaison for the Department of Transportation and Multimodal Infrastructure.
Well done, sir. That was a mouthful. That was great. So we're on Resolution 945, designated the U.S. the US bicycle route, USBR 80 through Nashville. And I had a question that was lifted up from someone that was emailing.
Greenways and going through Nashville.
About just a background on what all organizations was anyone worked with you on this. It says here it was the partnered with the Tennessee Department of Transportation, Bike Walk Tennessee, Adventure Cycling Association, and then Councilman Bradford just lifted up the attached document for the route. And so I just wanted to see if there was any other kind of local input put in, or if you have got any more info on that.
So where it got to us was TDOT actually brought it with us, or TDOT brought it to us, and they had been working with not Bike Walk, but I can't remember the third, that other association.
Adventure cycling?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, so Adventure Cycling, I think, had reached out to TDOT, and TDOT, obviously, they have a hand in some of those routes, but reached out to us for, obviously, it needs the county's approval legislatively. But as far as what it necessitates or anything like that, it doesn't really necessitate anything. It authorizes signage, but that's not really something we need to have. We need it to happen. We can put signage up as we see fit, but it does obviously encourage signage for it. It doesn't require any sort of infrastructure changes at this time, but designates it in the same way that USBR 23 was designated a number of years ago, which is north-south running, as opposed to this east-west.
And then Councilmember Vo, Councilmember Welch in that order.
Thank you, Chair. I know I looked at the attached map, but I was wondering, can we get the list of the districts it's actually going through?
I can get that.
Okay, great, thank you.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Would you like it, do you need it by tonight, or just in?
Just in general, yeah, thank you. I think it'll help us.
And do these routes connect to other routes like in other states, or is this something that's just to us, or Middle Tennessee, or the state?
Yes, it goes outside of our county, and usually they go state, across state lines as well. So I know USBR 23 actually has origins in like mid-northern Kentucky and actually goes down towards near Huntsville. So it cuts all the way through. So I think the east-west, which is this 80, probably does the same thing. I haven't seen it outside the county lines. I haven't, because it doesn't affect us, but I imagine it certainly connects outside.
Vice Chair Vo, you had a follow-up question?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I was wondering too, when the timeline is for the implementation.
So as far as I understand, because it doesn't require any infrastructure changes, implementation is as soon as the mayor signs it, to designate it as such. As far as any additional signage that would designate this, we would be looking towards our partners to, potentially a funding mechanism for signage or some sort of additional partnership to add anything additional to the route, if that makes sense. At the moment is a designation, so anything above that would be further partnership.
Okay. Okay,
Do you have other questions, Vice Chair Vo?
yeah, I think that clears it.
Okay. Is there any other discussion on this? Thank you so much, Mr. Purvis, for stepping in for that. So with no other council members seeking to be recognized, all in favor, please indicate by voting aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or against, please speak up. It passes unanimously. Thank you so much. With that, we have a special guest here this evening with the Greater Nashville Music Census. Are you going to be doing a presentation? Mr. Kent, if you would like to introduce yourself, the work you've done. I know you've shared this all with council members via email, but he's also got a copy of this presentation here. It's also in your council committee folder, but I'd love to turn this over to you. We have until 5:30. We may have a little flexibility on that time until we get so here will be informal. Turn it over here. Yeah, thank you for being here. So we'll turn it over.
Absolutely, and I don't know what the procedural I should
you
sit,
could-
just hang, or stand, or whatever's.
Whatever's comfortable for you, and you can you can come up to the end of the table if that's a little bit more.
No.
If Councilmember Easlick and Vo don't mind. Wonderful.
Look at the sweater, how can he mind?
I missed the demo. I'm sorry for. Yeah, this is a different format for us. We've been doing these community engagement sessions around, from whether it's on stage at 3rd and Lindsley to Housing Coalition and everywhere in between. This is the first round table one. So forgive me. Usually I've got a presentation and things, but it's old school here with some paper.
Thank you for working with our level of availability. So thank you.
I love it. So just, I guess, on big picture, I'm a singer-songwriter myself and own a company called Backstage Strategies. We do strategic communications, coalition building, and government relations within the music industry. I had the opportunity to do all of those things, kind of steering the ship for the Greater Nashville Music Census, which happened earlier this year. It was a survey of our Nashville music ecosystem. It surveyed not just Davidson County, but the 13 counties surrounding it, similar to the Greater Nashville Regional Council. We kind of aligned there. And folks could choose one of 3 tracks when taking the survey. They could identify as working within the music industry, identify as being a creative, an artist, songwriter, or working within music venue promoters. So that's the path that they could take. We were a part of a cohort nationally of 20 cities that conducted these music censuses around the same time throughout this year. The census was open for 1 month. And we built a coalition of over 100 organizations locally that signed on to help spread the word. With all that said and done, we processed this mother load of data over the summer and distilled it down into 5 headlines. There's probably 10 more headlines and stories that exist, but these were the 5 that we thought were most tangible, most relevant, could connect to solutions that the community was asking for. These are Nashville is like no other, all music city, unaffordable with an emphasis on the AF, out of harmony, and a seat at the table. Typically when I do these presentations, there's so much data to process all at once, I kind of will just hit a headline and then pause and be like, any thoughts or questions? Because if you go till the end, it's kind of a lot to remember and think about. So starting kind of with the positive, I mentioned we were part of 20 cities. In Nashville, like blew through every other city in the country in terms of the data collected and set benchmarks or broke previous records from all other years of music censuses. We set just as an example, the highest number of respondents of any city ever at 4,256. The next highest on the list was Austin at just over 2,000. The highest percentage employed in the music industry at 31%. The average annual music income was $52,000, which is the highest in the country. Still lower than we want it to be, and what, 30,000 short of being able to afford a house here, but still the highest in the country. The total annual music income generated, 220 million. Average number of events per venue, 172, with a total number of 25,000. And that's, you know that not every venue submitted here too, so this is just as much as we could get here. And I like to put these numbers in perspective too of, say, the Imagine Nashville survey, which brought in 10,000 and had a budget, I believe, roughly of $700,000. And we had a budget of $25,000 to get this done. So it just shows like the buy-in of the community that really valued needing this data in order to kind of help tell these stories. The opportunity I think this data creates too, and us breaking all these records, is that I think it's a great tool for tourism, the chamber, ECD, to continue workforce recruitment and college recruitment. We are a music city, and this is proof of that. And there's no other city in the country that has the opportunities we do, and the data truly show that. Any questions on that side of it?
The 31%, was it 31% of respondents or 31% of our whole labor market?
31% of the respondents reported working in the music industry.
I was like,
But like, yeah, we have that number from a Chambers study 2018, and that was around 15% of our whole labor market.
Councilmember Bradford.
that's still sizable.
2 questions. So why was it only a 30-day response time for this? You mentioned the Imagine Nashville, which took a couple months.
Yep.
I feel like if people only had 30 days to complete the survey, we're still kind of undershooting the goal. So first question is that.
Yeah.
Second one, you've got the supporting data for gender. I'm wondering, talking about seat at the table,
Yep.
community and whatnot, why was the LGBTQ community left out of this? Because there are definitely members of the LGBTQ community or musicians or work in the music industry. Just if you can answer those two questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will dive into the demographic breakdown too a little bit more. The respondent or the window of response, I think it technically ended up being 5 weeks that it was open, where we did a month, we advertised a month, and then we extended it a week. But that is due to the way the music industry operates, generally speaking, is that they need to operate on a deadline. Most people fill it in at the last possible minute, and whether you give them a month or 3 months, they're going to fill it in that last week. And they work quickly, and they work kind of under fire, and that was based on best practices. We partnered with a national consulting company that manages the data on all of these, and they said that they found the most success with a 1 month window. And then on the representation side, we did collect all that data. And that's a great flag for including in this slide. It may not have been a surprise one way or another, which is maybe why I didn't make this. But there is a data dashboard that exists, and part of the reason we did this and partnered with the organization we did is that this data is all open source now for the community. It exists on the website. You can go into this dashboard and search all of that information and find your own headlines and pass through that. And you could find that the info you were looking through at each pass, so creative, industry, venue, and then a mix of all three as well. So it does exist, but that's a good flag for the future.
Appreciate that.
Councilmember Bradford, do you have any other questions? So Councilmember Vo and then Stiles. But since that data, just as a follow-up for Councilmember Bradford, since it's available in that open data, I don't know if it's something you can send over, and then we could put that in make sure folks have access to it.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. And then Vo and Stiles?
Sorry. Thank you, Chair. Thank you so much, Jamie. Really appreciate you being here. One thing I was wondering was, how did you disseminate the information? I know you were talking about like you worked with another partner, and so if you could talk to us about like how the survey was sent out with the reflection of who you got back. And then I see you say that the ecosystem is predominantly white individuals. Do you have the breakdown of actual? I went to a recent event, and they said that 1% of all like music venues are owned by Black individuals. So I wanted to confirm like if you have that information and how to include that so that it's very clear for people.
So I just haven't gotten to that part of it yet, but the next headline is all Music City, and this kind of was our demographic breakdown of who filled this out. Both in the demographics from genre down to gender and race. So the genre was a surprising one to a lot of us. Country is leading the way, but only at 28%. And then American roots music at 16%, rock and roll 12%, pop 8%, and then a whole slew of other genres between 1% and 5% below it. And all that is on the dashboard as well, but it just shows how diverse our music scene truly is and how it's changing. And I think that's really important as we think about where to send support.
And just this is from the respondents.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. And the partner in the data collection is a company called Sound Music Cities out of Austin. They're basically one of two organizations nationwide that does this sort of work. And they're experts in data collection. I can't tell you the specific software they use, but it's top of the line, and I know it's like they invest a lot of money in the infrastructure of collection of that data. The actual spreading of the word is why this model is a very coalition-based, building a broad coalition to make sure that we're the ones spreading the word on it and not them. So it's on us to spread the word to the community, and we felt really good. There were certain areas that we reached out to heavily that didn't engage with us, that may be slightly underrepresented, like Christian music. It might be a little lower in the genre than it actually is, because we had a few organizations, but not one or two that we wanted to. But generally speaking, it was a really great cross-section. If you look at the website, it's really diverse and represents almost every element and sector of the industry.
So can you tell me, how did you send the survey? Like, how did people get it?
Through email primarily, but then social media. We had ads running on radio. We had social media ads as well. We had a giant press campaign that went out around this. So people were seeing it in just about every corner.
I want to make sure Councilmember Stiles gets Councilmember Vio, though, do you have any other follow-up questions on that?
No, that's what I wanted.
I just want to make sure we get, looks like, I know you got some questions too.
So, thank you so much for all the work that you did on this. I voted. As a minority in country music for a long time, it's nice to see that we have changes now. Incrementally, we are moving in the right direction. We are nowhere close to being across the finish line, but I appreciate that you collected this data to show it. You know, now that we have organizations like Black Opry, and we have different genres. I mean, when I moved here 18 years ago, it was just country. And then Jack White came, people were like, what is he doing? But that's really opened the door for multiple genres to come to town. So we really needed the study. I was happy to support it last term. I wanted to let you know, if you didn't know already, the Global Mall revitalization that I'm doing, we're doing artist housing on the site. And that was a request of constituents. So I'm hoping to build like 400 units. Amazing. And that we will become an arts and innovation district so that we could become ground zero for artists. So if you can't afford downtown, which most people can't, you can start in Antioch and grow your career and then move wherever you want to go. So I want to let you know that, because I'm talking about housing.
I love that.
And then, just gotta say, I'm the first formerly full-time artist that has served on this council. So I hear you. We do need more voices, because it's a struggle fighting for arts when most people don't understand what arts mean,
right, or
any of the industries. Yep. So if you've got people that are interested, let's connect.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and that's later on in the seat at the table. But I said we are roughly 15% of Nashville's population, which should equate to 7 council members, but it has 1. So that's on us as well to be better organized and coming to the table that way. I didn't answer your question before about venue. I spaced that, but I believe so. Eric Holt from Love Noise was a steering committee member on this as well. Yeah. And we've been through it. We've kind of dove really deep in trying to find out exactly how many African American venue owners there are in Nashville right now, and 2 is the
some have closed.
Semi-confident. Right. Yeah. So Rudy's one of the 2 owners is African American. Naymam is technically a venue, but it's not like an right. So that. Yeah. And then there's there's a restaurant or 2 that have music, but they're not true music venues. Right.
And then, are you speaking towards the future, and of course the creation of the commission? Yep. That the venue study, you guys are going to be going before the commission to present these findings. I know right now they've been really focused on getting the executive director position out and hiring, but I hope that you're going to be going there to present that information.
100%. We are scheduled to do so in January. And that sort of sets up a really interesting, this seat at the table. If I go to that section, there's some really interesting respondent data that I hope is, especially for this crowd, is illuminating. Of 79% of venues seek to be a part of economic development conversations, and 73% seek an advocate inside local government. Technically, they have it, but nobody knows because funding's not there to set it up for success. So there is an Office of Nightlife that technically should advocate for this, but that office also represents the beer board, which is theoretically could punish a venue. So it's not a clear cut, this is my advocate. So that's inherently something that was brought up as, I don't know, is this my advocate, is this not? And then they don't even have a website, so that makes it difficult to know that they exist. The commission is a really important thing, but it's taken a while to get to even having
Baby
a
is
job.
just
Yep.
starting to pull itself up on its legs.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Walk and talk.
Yep.
It's coming.
But my hope is that more dedicated funding will come, because one person running music, film, and entertainment is,
There's a director and there's going to be a coordinator.
Okay.
So it's not just one.
okay, good.
We added money for that this year.
Okay,
Ah.
all right. But, as Music City, I feel like we need to be leading on that front as well, because other cities are sort of putting us to shame on that front with large staffs and much smaller populations on that front. So I think also for this group, some things that I personally nerd out over that I think are opportunities that don't get maybe discussed enough, but are on the economic development side. Why couldn't there be a development bonus within the downtown code that could be tapped into for putting a below market rate venue in your building? The new bonds that the state just allowed metros across the state to enact, why couldn't that same concept be part of that conversation? Why are we not baking these ideas into the planning of our city? And as the Station Inn will likely be on the chopping block in the next 2 years when that lease is up, and it's in the owner of the building's kids' hands now, and they're going to get a $20 million offer on that. So what can we do thinking ahead to say, all right, if that offer does come in, and it's hard to say don't accept that offer, could something be built around it? Are there air rights? What other things can we be doing? And they exist out there, but we just aren't doing any of them. We have next to no music-friendly policies. So I think that's...
Those are good suggestions, things to consider for the artist housing.
100%.
Put a venue in there, which we actually need live music venues and a performance space out in my
Absolutely.
district, so I'm working on that. So let's talk further about that.
I love that.
How about it?
A simple definition of a music venue in code might go a long way as well. We just did that on the state level, but Nashville only has bar and nightclub. And so I know a venue that is trying to purchase a spot off Dickerson, and it's near housing, and there we're struggling with the ability to exist there because they're defined as a nightclub, but they're jazz. And so these are nuances that we can tackle, as a city that just set things up for success and make it easier to do business in that way.
Can we talk about this some more offline, and then perhaps Chair, could he come back, because I can give these updates before you adjourn this meeting?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll do that. And then so a couple of things is you're, talking about recommendation or possible suggestions, especially comparative, whether that's,
Yep.
what are the benefit of having the definition of a music venue? What are the additional add-ons and things like that? But I think bringing those as recommendations of other model policies
Yep.
that exist in music-friendly cities, maybe something that you could also bring back to the committee, as well as we schedule you some more time with us. Is there any other questions, though, of Mr. Kent before we wrap up this part, and then we'll spend a couple more minutes to cover a couple additional items?
I'll leave it with this study and then the Nashville Independent Venue Study.
Yeah.
Both came out this year, and both are sort of recommending a lot of the same things. So we are sort of putting together, this is sort of like prime the pump. We're putting together a task force to come back with these model language. What's the Venn diagram of these two studies that we can come back with the simplest things to tackle right away.
Wonderful. And so that will be working with the NEVA, or the Independent Venue.
Yeah, we share a lot of the same
Yeah,
people. There's a
I was
small
gonna say, I
group of
know
people working on it. So.
it's a small ecosystem,
Yeah.
or it's an ecosystem, maybe it's not small, but it's one where folks work together a lot, so it sounds like y'all be
Yeah.
working together.
But the idea is bringing together public and private people into the same room to say, how can what we're doing and what we're doing all come together towards the same goal?
Wonderful. Well, thank you
Thank
so
you all.
much
Really
for
appreciate
this
your time.
work. Thank you for taking the time to be here. I know it's never fun to come all the way here and to navigate.
I love it. It's great.
Traffic, so wonderful.
So fun.
Well, I know, Chairman Catt does too, so Lisa, I'm sorry. You gave me a little look like.
Oh, I think it's fine.
With that, we're gonna conclude this part. There are two things I want to make sure, Councilwoman Stiles, I'll make sure I give you time to update us, and then I want to circle back to let folks know that, and I think you're probably going to touch on something probably about the arts.
Oh, yeah.
But we will work to schedule a special meeting of arts probably the week prior. I got to talk to Vice Chair Vo, make sure her availability, and then start recircle with everyone on this committee and the other folks that need to be attending that. But probably look at the week prior to our council meeting in January. So that's just FYI, to start looking at your calendars, and you'll hear from me hopefully this week before you completely shut down for the rest of the year from your council work. I know the work is never done, but with that, Councilwoman Stiles.
I'm going to give the most rapid of updates.
Wonderful.
So 2 things. One, the Entertainment Commission and also Metro Arts. So I will I'll start with the commission. So I went to
The Arts Commission?
No, what is about to be named, what it was originally supposed to be named, it's now going to be going back, Nashville Entertainment Commission. So it will also be the Office of Entertainment. So that name is going to be changing. The legislation is going to be coming before us. The work group, the commission was working on some changes that they wanted to see done, some cleanup language, and then the boards and commission work group is looking at that legislation and they're giving their input. So I'm asking that the work group provide a substantive update on what they've been working on and what they're about to propose to us to touch boards and commissions versus us just being surprised about whatever they're working on. Let's see. It's moving along very well. They have an executive director posted now. So far, they have 72 applicants for the position. HR is anticipating by the end of this month that there should be 150. Next month, they will be given the names. HR is going to whittle that down, provide them with names. In February, they'll come before the commission for interviews, and in March, they'll make a decision. And then in April, they will begin. So as we are going to be going into our budget conversation, I just wanted to let you guys know, this commission, this office, it is getting up and running. I will be bringing some legislation forth in regards to kind of clearing up what we have now as a mayor's film office and special events versus this new office, which is, there's kind of cross functionality. So we need to clean that up. What's Gordon going to do? What's this new director and their coordinator going to do? They are working on budget needs. So Madam Chair, if the chair of that commission could come and present to us to share, that would be great. I'll leave that there. Metro Arts, unfortunately, felt like it was moving in a good direction so we could feel better. It is now moving backwards. If you have any chance to read the emails that we've received from artists, what has been proposed as a solution from Metro Arts for Thrive and operating grants has not moved forward in the direction as it was supposed to in terms of equity. It looks like it has regressed back to more money going to existing organizations versus artists, so there are issues there. The conciliation group has some issues about what was supposed to have been done from Metro Arts staff that hasn't been done. So in order for it to come to us, I don't see that it'll come to us the way it was supposed to come to us, which was ready and available. But I just wanted to put that out there because they've had their meeting for this month where they voted on the funding model.
They voted on
Yes.
what they're supposed to be submitting to the council for us to consider.
Correct.
And so that'll be, and then I would encourage folks to go back and watch the last meeting of, it's on MNN or on YouTube, to go back and watch that.
And the month
That's-
before. And watch November's and December's because you can see issues were brought in November before the vote that weren't rectified.
But it is my understanding, though, is that there's, you know, I think when we start looking at the funding model and we have information given, and so we'll be able to get folks present to answer that during our special call meeting. And then we'll understand, make sure Metro Legal in the council office informs us of what happens if we approve what's been given. Obviously, the Arts Commission is supposed to be doing the work and bringing us something. So a resolution for that funding. So folks understand the weight of their support or lack of support of anything that's brought forward, because that also may mean that there's no funding that goes out at all. So we understand the weight of that. But I'm hoping that we see some communication from the art staff, so kind of inform us what may be presented. But I haven't seen that other than what I've heard or what I watched. And I believe, too, another question I'll that have around the conciliation agreement, Metro Human Relations Commission will be present. Tessa Ortiz will be present.
Oh, good.
And then we'll make sure that Director Coleman is present and any other of the members there that need to be present for that department. But if you have anyone else specifically, if you'll send those over, and we'll try to get a date scheduled. Like I said, probably for that, or not probably, but the week prior to our council meeting. So if folks will send over dates that either they are available or not available, we can whittle that down.
You should probably add the grants manager.
If you'll send those over, if folks have folks you want that way, because I will forget, not intentionally, but if you'll just send those over, and then also send over what you were mentioning on if you want folks from the Entertainment Commission to come and speak, so we can get those scheduled. And if anyone else has any other departments before budget or during budget, we need to hear more. I know we've got our big ones from parks and libraries, but any of our departments or commissions regarding budget time, so we can start getting those scheduled. And then if we're going to have people back, I can get those scheduled for our Tuesdays prior to the budget vote. I appreciate that update on both of those. That's really helpful to know what's coming, and flagging concerns that that exists as well. Is there any other? I know we're 8 minutes over, but are there any questions or anything else before we entertain a motion?
I wanted to, I guess, maybe piggyback on part of what you just shared in regards to understanding the gravity of our vote on the process, because that's why initially I had suggested that we be able to approve this, so that we don't end up kind of going back to where we started even like a year ago. And in looking at this, there is the maybe artists don't get paid this year, which was kind of a conversation before, but then also there's the opportunity that maybe everything gets cleaned up. And the complaint and all of those things. We never really got to clean things up. We just added on top of a cleanup at the same time. So thank you very much for holding this upcoming specially called meeting. So
yeah, we'll make sure we get it scheduled. Well, and we were attempted to hold it in the past, but realized we were going to not be able to hear anything that we needed to hear.
Right.
So I appreciate that. Is there anything else? Anyone else here? Any other council members have anything else, whether it's on these two matters or anything else before we say goodbye for the end of the year?
When would you like us to start compiling things for budget?
I think, if we can get those, if we can start getting those scheduled, I want people, things on people's agenda by the end of the year, but maybe, definitely by the end of January. Okay. So we give people time to get on people's schedules. So if we have stuff, we start coming back, and I'll have a council office send out a reminder to everybody after the first of the year. And that way we can start getting on people's schedules to get in here. I think hopefully that'll give folks time and remind everyone of which departments you may want to hear more detailed information.
And we can go over last year's list that we had before. And
I think send all that over so we can just schedule it out with time-wise.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was like, I think it sounds
I love
great.
children.
All right, is there a second? All right, okay. Thank you all so much.